The easiest way to describe drywall is that it is a powder squished between two sheets of paper. The powder itself is called gypsum powder, and that's why sometimes you hear it referred to as gypsum board. We're going to walk through the two phases of drywall: the hanging the board and the taping of the board. If you go to your usual big box store, you're going to run into a whole drywall section, and you're going to find a few standard sizes and lengths, right? Drywall typically is going to come in a 4-foot width, so that's 48 inches, and you're going to be able to get 8-foot, 10-foot, and 12-foot lengths. Your regular drywall that goes on your walls on your house is a half inches thick, and you can get it so that it's 7-foot long, 9-foot, 11-foot, and 14-foot, but those are kind of non-standard sizes that you will order as you go along. You can also get it in 54 inches wide, and that's designed for 9-foot ceilings. Apart from your regular drywall, there's also Type X, otherwise known as fire code board or fire code fire rated. It is 5/8 of an inch thick, and it has a burn rate that is higher than your regular drywall. That's what it's used for. It is a fire separation, usually between residential units, like if you have a basement apartment or apartments themselves. All it means is that it takes longer to burn through it. You also have green board that sometimes you'll see. Green board is water resistant, sometimes referred to as water resistant board. There is a blue version of it, which is kind of like the next level up, but more commonly you're going to see the green one. We don't use it as much in bathrooms and stuff just because now there's so many waterproofing systems for your shower that the green board with a bathroom fan, it can be a little bit overkill, but it all depends on your personal philosophy. Next, we're going to get into the phases of hanging that board up. Typically in a residential setting, the boards on the wall are going to come after the boards you put on the ceiling. The ceiling goes first, and you're going to screw those every 5 inches or 5 screws on every joist. And where the butts go, the flat ends, the 4-foot ends, you're going to put a screw every 6 inches. Every sheet of drywall has a bevel and a butt. The bevel has a little dip in it for you to embed the tapes in. Once you've hung the ceiling, you're going to move on to the walls. In a residential setting on wood studs, you are going to go perpendicular to the studs, and you're going to start from the ceiling down. So your first sheet will butt up to the ceiling, and then you will go down from there. You will use what are called coarse thread screws for wood. Coarse thread screws are, it means the threads are a little further apart so that it can bite the wood a little bit better. When you're applying the drywall to steel stud, it's a little more fine, and you're going to use fine threads. So because the steel is thin, the threads will bite more. If you use coarse thread screws on steel stud, it'll be a little bit looser, and over time you'll get your screws popping. So you want to avoid that. Now that we've got the board on the wall, we're going to move on to taping it. And this is where the real art begins. So we're going to have a few phases here: pre-fill, tapes, flats and butts, a corner bead, and then you're going to fill coat, and you're going to feather coat and do your skims and sand. So there's a long process. One of the challenges with drywall is when you're taping is that it needs to dry. And when things dry, they shrink. And that's why you're doing multiple coats, so that every chance you use, every coat you apply, it's going to shrink, and you're feathering it out. You're making it look flat. It's not actually flat. So your drywall joints, they're going to be like 2.5 inches wide, flared out and feathered and sanded to appear flat. The real challenge is the drying time, like I said, and of course the skill. You need to get used to it. But the drying time is what takes so long. You can pump in a heater. Again, if you're adding more heat, it's going to dry out and it's going to shrink more because you're drying it out faster. You're drying the top coat. You're not drying it from the inside out. What you really want is you want air moving. So you're going to put in fans. Maybe you're putting a heater. You're definitely going to put a dehumidifier. What the dehumidifier does is it dries it evenly and pulls it from the inside as well, not just the top layer. So you will get less shrinkage. As you're going each coat, you're going to spot your screws. We don't want too much shrinkage, so you're going to have to put multiple coats over these little screws to make sure it appears flat. As you go through the process, you get better and better at it, and it all looks amazing, but it takes work. So that is the basics of drywall in a nutshell.